In the years leading up to the Second World War, military planners across Europe were searching for a weapon that could redefine infantry combat. Germany found its answer in a machine gun that was not only innovative but surprisingly economical to produce. Often described as a $100 machine gun due to its relatively low production cost, the weapon symbolized a revolution in battlefield firepower. That weapon was the MG34's successor, the MG42, a design that would influence nearly every major army in the decades that followed. While earlier machine guns were heavy, slow to manufacture, and mechanically complex, this German innovation embraced stamped steel construction and simplified components. It delivered unprecedented rates of fire while keeping manufacturing expenses under control. At a time when resources were stretched thin, cost efficiency became as important as lethality. This balance between affordability, firepower, and reliability transformed infantry doctrine. Instead of building tactics around riflemen supported by a machine gun, Germany built squads around the machine gun itself. The result was a shift in battlefield thinking that stunned Allied forces. Soldiers who encountered it described a terrifying ripping sound, earning it the nickname Hitler's Buzzsaw. Yet beyond its psychological impact, its real legacy lay in its engineering philosophy. It proved that mass production and battlefield effectiveness could coexist. By combining affordability with devastating performance, this machine gun became more than a weapon. It became a template for modern military design. The origins of this revolutionary weapon can be traced back to the earlier MG34, developed in the 1930s as one of the world's first true general-purpose machine guns. The MG34 was versatile, capable of serving as both a light machine gun and a mounted heavy weapon. However, its precision-machined components made it expensive and time-consuming to produce. As Germany prepared for prolonged war, military officials realized that industrial efficiency would determine victory as much as battlefield tactics. Engineers were tasked with creating a cheaper alternative without sacrificing performance. The answer was the MG42. By replacing many milled parts with stamped and welded steel, production time was drastically reduced. Factories could produce the weapon faster and at lower cost, estimated in wartime terms to be a fraction of its predecessor. This industrial streamlining was revolutionary. Other nations relied on weapons like the American Browning or the British Bren, which required careful machining and more labor. Germany's shift towards simplified mass production foreshadowed modern manufacturing principles. It demonstrated that a weapon did not need intricate craftsmanship to dominate the battlefield. Instead, it needed smart engineering and adaptability. The MG42 was easier to maintain, simpler to assemble, and more forgiving in harsh conditions. Its development marked a turning point, where industrial innovation directly translated into tactical superiority. What truly set the MG42 apart was its staggering rate of fire. Capable of firing between 1,200 and 1,500 rounds per minute, it outpaced nearly every other machine gun of its era. This rapid output created a distinctive tearing sound that Allied soldiers often mistook for multiple weapons firing simultaneously. The psychological impact alone was immense. Troops pinned down by its firepower found it nearly impossible to maneuver. Unlike slower-firing weapons, the MG42's burst could saturate an area in seconds, suppressing entire units. Yet this rate of fire was not simply for intimidation, it was tactical. German doctrine emphasized suppressive fire to allow infantry movement. A single MG42 team could dominate a battlefield sector, freeing riflemen to advance or defend. Critics sometimes argued that its high rate consumed ammunition quickly. However, German squads were structured around supporting the machine gun, ensuring steady supply. This concept, organizing infantry around a central automatic weapon, was revolutionary at the time. Most other nations treated machine guns as support tools, not the core of squad firepower. The MG42 flipped that philosophy entirely. By combining mechanical simplicity with unmatched fire rate, it created a new standard for infantry suppression. Decades later, militaries worldwide would adopt similar doctrines, proving that the MG42 was not just a wartime innovation, but a lasting blueprint for modern combat. Another defining feature of the MG42 was its quick-change barrel system. High rates of fire naturally generate extreme heat, and prolonged firing could warp or damage a barrel. Earlier designs often required lengthy cooling periods or complex maintenance procedures. The MG42 addressed this challenge with remarkable practicality. Its barrel could be swapped in seconds by a trained crew member, allowing continuous operation during intense engagements. This innovation significantly increased battlefield endurance. Machine gun teams carried spare barrels and asbestos gloves to handle the heated metal. The efficiency of this system meant the weapon could sustain suppressive fire far longer than many of its contemporaries. This adaptability made it ideal for both defensive positions and mobile warfare. In fast-moving campaigns across Europe and North Africa, reliability under pressure was critical. The MG42 delivered consistent performance even in mud, snow, and desert sand. Its design philosophy emphasized functionality over ornamentation. Every component served a clear purpose, and unnecessary complexity was eliminated. This focus on user practicality influenced post-war firearms development worldwide. Engineers recognized that ease of maintenance and rapid part replacement were as important as raw firepower. The quick-change barrel became a defining trait of modern general-purpose machine guns, directly inspired by the German example. It showcased how thoughtful engineering could extend a weapon's effectiveness far beyond its initial design goals. The MG42's affordability was one of its most revolutionary aspects. While exact wartime currency conversions vary, it was significantly cheaper to produce than many Allied counterparts. Simplified manufacturing meant fewer machining hours and less skilled labor. Germany, facing increasing resource shortages, needed weapons that could be produced quickly and economically. By embracing stamped steel and welding techniques, engineers drastically reduced costs without sacrificing durability. This approach was ahead of its time. Post-war industrial design across the globe adopted similar methods for firearms production. The idea that a powerful, reliable weapon could be made cheaply reshaped military procurement strategies. Cost-effectiveness allowed wider distribution, ensuring that nearly every German infantry squad had access to its formidable firepower. This widespread availability amplified its tactical impact. In contrast, some Allied units had limited automatic support at the squad level. The MG42 demonstrated that economic efficiency and battlefield dominance were not mutually exclusive. It bridged the gap between affordability and innovation. In doing so, it laid the groundwork for future military designs where mass production would become paramount. The lesson was clear. A weapon's strategic value was not only in its lethality, but also in how easily it could be manufactured and deployed at scale. This principle would define firearms development long after the war ended. Beyond its engineering brilliance, the MG42 reshaped the very structure of the German infantry squad. Unlike many armies that built tactics around riflemen supported by a machine gun, German doctrine centered the squad around the machine gun itself. The MG42 was not simply support, it was the core of combat power. A standard squad was organized to protect, supply, and maneuver in support of the weapon. Ammunition bearers ensured a constant stream of belts, while riflemen provided security and flanking movement. This doctrine maximized the weapon's suppressive potential. When deployed defensively, a single MG42 could hold off advancing forces by blanketing terrain with rapid bursts. In offensive operations, its fire pinned enemy troops, enabling maneuver elements to advance. This approach proved devastatingly effective in the early years of World War II. Allied troops often found themselves facing concentrated automatic fire that seemed disproportionate to the number of defenders. The squad-based firepower philosophy pioneered by Germany later influenced NATO and Warsaw Pact doctrines. After the war, militaries around the world re-evaluated their squad compositions. Many adopted a similar structure, ensuring that automatic weapons formed the backbone of small unit tactics. The MG42 had demonstrated that mobility combined with concentrated suppressive fire could outperform larger formations reliant solely on rifles. It was not just a gun, it was a doctrinal revolution that permanently altered infantry warfare. The battlefield reputation of the MG42 quickly spread among Allied soldiers. American, British, and Soviet troops alike described its sound as terrifying, a continuous ripping noise, unlike the slower rhythm of other machine guns. US forces accustomed to the Browning automatic rifle, or the heavier M191, found the German weapon's rate of fire startling. The psychological effect was profound. Soldiers often reported feeling pinned down by what they believed were multiple guns, only to discover it was a single MG42 team. This intimidation factor magnified its tactical value. Warfare is not solely about firepower. Morale and perception play crucial roles. The MG42's overwhelming sound created hesitation, slowed advances and forced troops to seek cover. Even experienced units required coordinated artillery or flanking maneuvers to neutralize it. Yet, despite its fearsome image, it was not invincible. Ammunition consumption remained a logistical challenge, and skilled crews were required to operate it efficiently. Nevertheless, its ability to dominate engagements left a lasting impression. Allied commanders studied captured examples, analyzing what made it so effective. The conclusion was consistent: simplicity, speed, and mass production were key. The MG42's battlefield reputation was earned not just through firepower, but through its ability to shape enemy behavior. That psychological dominance became part of its enduring legacy. When the war ended in 1945, the influence of the MG42 did not disappear. Instead, it entered a new phase of global impact. Many nations examined its design and recognized its advantages. In post-war West Germany, the weapon evolved into the MG3, a modernized version chambered for NATO ammunition. The MG3 retained much of the MG42's original mechanism and blistering rate of fire. This continuity underscored the soundness of the original engineering. Other countries borrowed heavily from its concepts, especially the idea of a general-purpose machine gun adaptable to multiple roles. The quick-change barrel, belt-fed system, and lightweight yet durable construction became standard features worldwide. NATO's adoption of the 7.62 x 51mm cartridge further cemented the MG42 legacy, as its descendants were integrated into alliance arsenals. Even nations outside Europe studied its manufacturing techniques. The emphasis on stamped parts and simplified assembly influenced firearms development during the Cold War. The weapon's DNA could be seen in numerous machine guns fielded across continents. Its transition from wartime German service to global template illustrates how innovation transcends political boundaries. Though born in conflict, its design philosophy became universal. The MG42's post-war evolution proved that truly effective engineering survives beyond the regime that created it, shaping military doctrine for generations. The transformation of the MG42 into the MG3 represents one of the clearest examples of technological continuity in military history. Adopted by the Bundeswehr in the 1950s, the MG3 maintained the roller-locked operating system and quick-change barrel of its predecessor. Minor adjustments were made to accommodate new ammunition standards and modern manufacturing processes, but the core design remained intact. This speaks volumes about the weapon's original brilliance. Few wartime firearms transitioned so seamlessly into peacetime service across multiple nations. The MG3 served not only Germany but also countries such as Italy, Spain, Turkey, and others. Its widespread adoption reinforced the MG42's status as a benchmark. The idea of a single machine gun capable of serving as a light, medium, or mounted weapon became central to NATO doctrine. Rather than fielding separate specialized weapons, armies favored versatility. This streamlined logistics and training. The MG42's original emphasis on adaptability thus influenced strategic planning decades after World War II. It proved that thoughtful engineering could achieve timeless relevance. In an era marked by rapid technological change, the survival of its core design highlighted its unmatched practicality. The MG42 was no temporary wartime expedient. It was a foundational blueprint for modern automatic weapons systems. Ultimately, the $100 German machine gun earned its legendary status not merely through cost or firepower, but through influence. It demonstrated that industrial efficiency, innovative engineering, tactical integration could combine to redefine warfare. Its principles, simplicity in production, adaptability in deployment, and dominance in suppressive fire, became standards by which future machine guns were measured. From Cold War arsenals to modern battlefields, echoes of its design remain visible. While many weapons fade into obscurity after their era passes, the MG42's concepts endured. It reshaped squad tactics, influenced manufacturing philosophies, and established the general-purpose machine gun as the centerpiece of infantry operations. Its distinctive sound may have faded from Europe's battlefields, but its legacy continues in modern armed forces worldwide. The true measure of a weapon is not only its performance in war, but the extent to which it shapes the future. By that standard, this German innovation stands among the most influential firearms ever created. What began as a cost-effective solution to wartime production challenges became a global template. The MG42 proved that revolutionary ideas, once realized, can transcend time and borders, leaving a permanent mark on military history. One of the most remarkable aspects of the MG42 was how it balanced mechanical simplicity with mechanical precision. At its heart was a roller-locked, recoil-operated system that allowed the bolt to cycle extremely fast while maintaining reliability. This mechanism was not overly delicate, nor did it require intricate tuning in the field. Instead, it was robust enough to endure mud, dust, snow, and extended firing sessions. German engineers understood that a battlefield weapon had to function under brutal conditions. Unlike some earlier machine guns that jammed easily when exposed to debris, the MG42 proved forgiving. Its loose tolerances, paired with intelligent internal geometry, meant that minor dirt contamination rarely disabled it. For soldiers fighting across the Eastern Front's frozen landscapes or North Africa's deserts, this reliability was priceless. Maintenance routines were straightforward, and field stripping could be performed quickly with minimal tools. The weapon's modular nature allowed damaged parts to be swapped without complicated procedures. This philosophy of rugged reliability became a benchmark for post-war designs. Military planners around the world concluded that high rates of fire were meaningless without consistent function. The MG42's internal engineering struck that balance perfectly. It could deliver devastating bursts yet continue operating after long engagements. This harmony between speed and durability elevated it beyond a mere weapon. It became a masterclass in practical engineering under wartime pressure. Logistics also played a critical role in the MG42's success. While its high rate of fire consumed ammunition rapidly, German doctrine adapted to meet this demand. Ammunition belts were standardized, and supply chains were structured to prioritize machine gun teams. This emphasis on centralized firepower reshaped battlefield logistics planning. Rather than distributing ammunition evenly among riflemen, German units concentrated resources where they had the greatest suppressive effect. The MG42 became the focal point of supply and tactical planning alike. Allied forces eventually recognized the efficiency of this approach. Concentrated automatic fire could